Right, hi class. We're going to make a simple frequency distribution. Your assignment is going to be to make a frequency distribution of the body fat percent of the females in our class. I'm going to show you how to do this using the males. So I've created a small table here with count, min, max, range, bin width, and the number of bins. I have some extra columns here. I've labeled upper limit. I have an empty column, lower limit, bins, bins coded for formula, and frequency. So let's go ahead and start filling in this data. So count, I just want to know how many how many male subjects I have. So count equals count, highlight the data range. So I have 7. Now I want to find the minimum value, so equals min, select your data, enter. Max equals max. So I'm finding the maximum and minimum of this data range. And then our range of data is just the maximum minus the minimum. Our bin width is yet to be determined, but we are going to decide on the number of bins. So typically in a large data set, you wouldn't want anything less than 10. Now we do have a very small data set, but just for demonstration purposes, let's go ahead and select 10 bins. So we just type that in. And our bin width is going to be the range. So we're going to select this cell here, divided by the number of bins. And we have a bin width that will go between a bin width of 1.52%. So our upper limits will start with our maximum value here. So just equals, choose this cell and select enter. And these will go in 1.5% increments all the way down to our final 9.8, or actually 1.52 plus 9.8, and you'll see how that works in a second. So equals minus, and let's go ahead and reference our bin width cell. Now in order to do this, in order to allow Excel to consistently reference just this cell, we're going to put dollar signs in front of this E6 here. So dollar sign in front of the E and a dollar sign in front of the 6. And so that way when we carry our formula down the column, it's consistently subtracting by this cell here. Hit enter. All right, so we have 25 minus 1.52 is 23.48. 23.48 minus 1.52, 21.96. Again, and again, and again, and again, and again, all the way down. Just go ahead and carry that all the way down. Right. Okay. So now we're going to select our lower limits. So what we can do is we're just going to skip a cell here. We'll just highlight all of this. Control C. Go to the very top cell, right below your lower limit. Right click, and we're going to paste special. So we just want to paste the values. Right, and so now we have these bins that range, let's see, we have 23.48 to 25. 21.96 to 23, and so on and so on. Well, our minimum value is 9.8, so we can just look through our lower limits. We see 9.8, so this is our last bin. 9.8 to 11.32% is going to be the last bin that shows up on the x-axis of our histogram or frequency distribution. So anything below that, we can go ahead and get rid of. So I'm just going to clear contents here. All right. Now, again, this is a formatting issue for our x-axis. So we are going to, we want to add a hyphen here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select a hyphen and hit enter, and then go ahead and carry this down. So hyphen and enter. So if you're having issues with this, sometimes Excel likes to think that this is a minus sign. What you might need to do is select that cell, go to Format Cells, and select Text. So under the Number tab, you would select Text, and that's telling Excel to just keep just keep the formatting. Don't try to do any mathematical operations with that. Now, to make this look really nice, I'm going to use the concatenate function. So equals concatenate. Let's choose that. And I'm going to select this upper limit here, a comma, my hyphen, a comma, and of course I can't see it because my function is on top of it. I'm going to have to just type in H2 because I'm trying to reference that cell that's being covered up. All right, so now you see that I have this really nice formatting for my bins, and I can just carry that down. Okay, so hopefully you see that. Now, Excel doesn't necessarily care about that, right? This is just for us as far as making our histogram chart. What Excel wants is the upper limits. So all we have to do is just copy and paste. So we're going to copy, we're going to paste special, because we just want the values. And now we're ready to find out the frequency. So how many of our subjects, how many of our subjects had a body fat percent within the range of 23.48 to 25%. So we're going to use the frequency function, so equals frequency. And you can see here there's a little help bar. So it's asking you to select the data array, which is over here in body fat percent, and the bins array. Now the bins array is right here in this column, bins coded for formula. Go ahead and select that entire column of data and hit enter. Now, if I were just to carry this formula down, so there's you can see my formula up here in the function bar. If I were to just carry that down, you can see that we don't necessarily have 7 subjects represented, right? And I can check that by summing up these values, right? And that should sum to 7. No, it sums to 3. So what's happening is that Excel is running a loop, and it's skipping a cell every time it runs a loop. So we're going to have to do something to change our formula. And what we're going to do is we're going to add dollar signs in front of our data array. And that way, when it consistently loops around to find out which data values fit into these bins, it will reference the entire data set. And so hopefully, yes. And we can check, and we should have 7. All right, so now we're ready for the fun part, making our column chart or our histogram. So I'm going to select bins. It's going to be our x-axis. Go ahead and hit Command and select, or hold it down and select the frequency. Go up to Charts, Column Chart, just choose the first one, that's fine. And you end up with something that looks like this. You can see this. Right, and so if you weren't necessarily picking up what I was putting down as far as bins, hopefully you see that now. Right, so you have these ranges or groups. Right, so let's go ahead and just fuss with this a little bit and make it look a little nicer. First of all, the y-axis. The y-axis represents the frequency, or say people, right? And so you can't really have half of a person. So let's go ahead and format that. I'm going to hit Format Axis, or right-click on the axis, Format Axis. I'm going to go to Scale. We don't have 3.5 people. We have 3 people that achieved that lowest percent body fat. Let's see. So we can do that. And then the major unit, we're just going to select 1 as a whole person. Again, this is being a little fussy about it, but trust me, it'll serve you well in the long run. Okay, didn't like that. No, stop. There we go. That's a little bit better. Right, and so I'll let you play around with this. Of course, you can always change the colors if you don't want to necessarily waste your printing allowance printing in color. There's a couple different things that you can do to make this stuff just a little nicer. Like for instance, you make stripes, wavy lines in black and gray, checkers. Checkers look really nice. Yeah, so I'll let you certainly fuss, make it look as clean as possible. And of course, Axis labels. So we can go to format, chart layout, and that'll give you some axis titles. So you always want to label your axes. And so this x-axis, right, is body fat, and we can say percent, and our y-axis. Okay, so you can either try to click and highlight its box, or you can go up to this key here, and frequency. Okay, it's not very large, but. Right. And so what you're going to do, and number one, actually most important, something that I never want you to do, and this will carry you into graduate school even, you never use a title, right? We don't do that in scientific publications. We would create a caption that would go above a table or below a figure. We wouldn't necessarily add a chart title. Okay, no, never. Just don't do it, especially not in this class. So what you're going to do though is I just want your chart, right? I don't necessarily need to see your spreadsheet. So what we're going to do is you're just going to go to this blank area and right click, and or maybe not. Okay. So maybe go over to the side box over here and right click, and we want to move chart, and we want to save the chart as a new sheet. So maybe just assignment, whatever you want to save it as. Right. And it's going to save it as a new sheet right under here. So there you go. And that's what you will print out and hand in. Another thing that you can do, and I think I've asked you to do in the instructions, is to add a header and footer. Okay, so you can type in your name, your class number, date, go ahead and hit OK. You're not necessarily going to see it here, but when you go to print, and on this very, very small screen, there it is. Okay, and you can see way up here, there's my name, right? And so that is what I want you to hand in with your assignment. All right, as always, please email me if you have any questions.